So, hello everyone. Here we are once again. This time with Stephen Eusebio. Actually, I didn't check with you. Am I pronouncing it properly, Eusebio? Because in Spain we say Eusebio, but I don't know if yeah,
It's really close. Yeah, Eusebio.
Eusebio. Nice. Yes. So he is going to be a new teachers at Animawarriors. He's going to be helping us with pretty cool actually workshop that we're going to be working on. What was the title that at the end we were doing?
Anim Team Workshop.
Anim Team Workshop.
Hmm.
Yes. Um, is it going to happen sometime in the next couple of months where basically what we're going to be doing as we were talking is just a kind of like a dynamic group or team where we're just going through some sequence, right? But anyways, talk about it, introduce yourself.
Yeah. I'm Steven. I'm a cinematic animator at Blizzard. I've been there for almost 3 years now. Before that, I was working in advertising for games and films and tech for about 8 years.
Nice.
Yeah, and so while there, I started as a junior artist and I worked my way up to lead, and I was lead of the department for about like 5 years or so.
Nice.
And so I started developing this workshop a while back, um, really with the sole purpose of exposing students to the benefits of working on a team, working with a lead, working with a director, and just kind of giving them like a little slice of what it's going to be like.
Yeah.
Because I feel like when you're on an animation team, it's almost like the concept of synergy, right? Everybody collectively is greater than the sum of everybody individually.
Yeah.
And so I'm pretty sure if you ask the majority of the animators out there, they'll say that what they learned on the job doesn't compare anywhere near to what they learned in school, right?
Yeah.
A lot of learning happens after school, and I think that's part of the thing that really drew me to animation is that learning should never stop. Whenever or wherever you are in your career, it should never stop. And that, we essentially sign up to be students for the rest of our lives. That's including me, that's including everybody. And, there's something really challenging about creating just standalone student exercises, right? Because a lot of the times when students create their own exercises, it's very blue sky, right? It's a blank paper. That's a lot for them to come up with just when they want to focus on being an animator, right? They have to come up with the situation, the context. They have to make sure they find the right line with like a good gear change or like enough contrast, so on and so forth. That's that's pretty daunting. And a lot of those times when you're working in a studio environment, a lot of those decisions won't fall on their shoulders alone.
Yeah.
And so giving them the right kind of box to work within will open up the possibilities of the choices that they make, especially when working with other people,
Yeah.
and the ability to bounce ideas off of one another. Because that's going to happen naturally when you have a shot, and then it just so happens to be bordered by two other shots that are being worked on by two other people. And so I felt like it could be a really good experience for them. I really hope they have fun most of all, and that they find like their individual voice, and they really become like a team, like a good sense of camaraderie and trust with me and with each other.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's the most important value, at least in my vision of what you just said. That way of experiencing that taste of camaradería, we say in Spanish, or where brotherhood or team, where people is a little bit part. They are individual, true, but it's mostly it's a collective kind of work where they can relate to each other, where they can learn from each other, and of course they can learn from you. Um, the way I see this course, and when before having conversations with you, I always had the vision of doing something like this, there is basically something that I say as it's a more kind of like a relationships workshop, where you basically you're working your own on your own art, and you're working your creativity and all that through the way you relate to others, and how you communicate with others, and how all the pieces are coming together, because it's amazing. Something that I always, when I'm working in a show, what took a lot of my, let's say, shocked me a little bit was every time I jump into a new show, all the new people, all the new, let's say, new leads, new teams, new directors, how can everything come together and create such a different kind of pieces?
Uh-huh.
Just because, and you might be working like, even for example, sometimes I remember OTT, OTT, same director, most of the time same leads, and not necessarily same artists, but it was very pretty close. You would say, okay, it's the same show. It's actually same style, same rigs. We actually didn't change many of the rigs, but the whole experience was so different, just because of different arrangements of people and all that.
Mm-hmm.
And that makes the whole experience change. And so yeah, I hope that also that is something that people can take, so they can feel, okay, how is it to do this kind of work when it's like everybody working together in something like that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I agree. It's, as you were saying, it's incredible how different a show can feel when essentially you feel like you're doing, it's just a continuation of a show that you'd previously done, but just changing the ingredients around a little bit can make it feel completely different.
Yeah.
And, a big contributor to that is, how well, or I guess how adept people are at being a part of a team. It's not so much, or I believe in being a good team member. It's not so much as a passive thing. You're assigned to a team, you're on a team, and simply existing on a team, in my opinion, isn't necessarily the best way to be a part of a team. It takes an active role.
It's very interesting, because this is something, it's a conversation that I had many times with people and students, about how to find that balance of okay, yes, of course, because I think that when you are sitting at least in the experience that you have when you're working in an animation, let's say TV or film or animation kind of studio, even in video games, I guess the same. You have your desk, right? And you're working in your desk, which sometimes can be a quite isolating experience.
Mm-hmm.
And some people get lost in that individual kind of expression or individual kind of work, where it's like, no, this is just me. Well, not necessarily. At some point you will have to relate to lead. You will have to go and into a room, relate to other people in your team, directors, and all that. And I think this is something that probably is because of the nature of the digital era, that is making many things very easy. Just to make this work done easily. We have lots of tools, emails. We can talk to people in different parts of the world, but at the same time, I can see that if we don't put ourselves more out there in the floor and relate to the people of the team, it's very easy to just get lost in that individual taste, right?
Mm-hmm.
So,
and I think that I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but I think by I think by immersing yourself to be a part of the team, your work gets better.
Yeah.
It's crazy how much better your work gets from being a part of a community like that.
Yeah, it gets, let's say, it gets more. I mean, because after all, we're doing a job, right? And we're doing like a collective kind of thing. And I think it's good when sometimes I see, that's why I say relationships. It's like when you go to the kitchen and you relate to the people, and it's like, we're gonna cook. I feel like having this. I feel like having that. Everybody talks about what do they want to do. So you create something that collectively speaking works for everybody. It's not, and that at the end, it becomes something more deeper than just a simple, let's say, creative satisfaction that you've done something beautiful, that you like it yourself. You like it yourself, that people is laughing at your work, people of your team is laughing at your work or enjoying your work. You establish conversations around it. How did you do that? So it becomes deeper, at least in my experience as a person. So
No, I agree. Like being a part of a team that is collectively working towards the same goal.
yeah,
I attribute it a lot to like, you know, when students work on their own exercise and they work on their own shots, by the time they finish it and they're happy with it, you know, they have a sense of accomplishment. There's like a great deep of pride there, especially if you're still learning. You know, you can see yourself getting closer to where you want to be. But like working on a team like that, it's getting that same satisfaction, but being able to share all of that with the people that you're working with.
that's pretty cool. So also, just so people we can tell a little bit of the dynamic of what are we going to be doing in this course. And correct me if I'm wrong. I believe we are not just going to be doing, or the plan that you have for the course is not just the animation making of the sequence itself. There is also some parts of lectures, right, where you're going to be talking about some things.
Yeah, absolutely. So in each class, I'm going to provide not only just a short lecture, but I'd like to impart some like workflow tutorial stuff, animation inspiration, animation breakdown of, you know, existing animations already out there, film breakdown, all in the interest of learning and getting better. Because I believe like one of the big proponents of this is to find inspiration from other places aside from just animation and film and like other art forms, and like being able to translate that to your animation and where those disciplines have common ground, you know, because when you're making art, you know, whether it be music, whether it be painting, whether it's cooking, whether it's animation, that's all we're all dealing with the same creative decision making. And you know, I find a lot of inspiration in finding those in all of the other little things that I like to try.
Yeah, makes sense. Okay, which way to go and all that.
Mm-hmm.
Totally. Nice. Yeah, I mean, I think that's a very nice dynamic because I think that is part of, as you say, is part of the everyday work. It's not just about the work; it's also about that continuous learning process. That even though that you are sitting on a desk working on a show, you always, I think is healthy. I think it helps to keep doing a good job and to help you to nourish that, let's say, that kind of like a greater satisfaction when your work is done, to always be open to learn new things by bringing new inspirations, by learning from other people. Okay, how has he done that? You open also the room for new conversations to happen, and that's very nice. Also that that's also, so we share with everybody that, so you're going to be helping with the majority of the, let's say, of the workshop and all that. I'll be assisting from the side, giving a little bit of let's say, I always, I'm very careful using the word director, but I'm gonna play a little bit of that role of just showing up a couple of times, like, hey, that I don't like that. I don't like that. Just also, you know, to create a little bit more of that, let's say, of that studio feeling, and also to help everybody to, you know, because also what we try to do is to create that general vision that maybe falls into a particular kind of a style that sometimes is not sometimes always happen in any kind of show.
Always.
So, right. So I'm gonna be playing a little bit that role. But yeah,
I think that's great. That dynamic. It's being able to expose students early on to that, and especially having a monkey wrench thrown in their plan and seeing how well they can adapt, because that's definitely a muscle and a skill that they can develop, and they're going to have to develop. How well they'll be able to pick up the pieces in a sense and put back together something to deliver.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, it's gotta tick all the boxes, right? It's got to be in style. It's got to be appropriate for the moment, for the show, for the shot, for the sequence, where it lies, all that stuff.
Yeah. Sometimes I think, okay, how really bad I want to be with that. I remember sometimes, you know, in some shows, overall in one particular show, I'm not gonna say the name, but in one particular show, you know, where we were deep down in Polish, like maybe like a month working in a shot, and then I got notes from director about posing and performance ideas. Like, why instead of this he does that? It's like, right? It's like, it's not the moment that you had 4 weeks. So sometimes I think, should I go that way just on purpose so they can really, because it happened, right?
It definitely happens. It definitely happens. And you know what's another thing that's not uncommon for it to happen? You can finish a shot or be close to a shot, and all of a sudden, your shot doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah, they say, oh, by the way, we forgot, we did this change on edits.
Yeah, it's out.
Well, okay, maybe we don't go that far, but yeah, I think you're right. So
You see how we're laughing about it?
Yeah.
This is how you can tell that something like that has happened to the both of us already.
Totally. I mean, and the only thing that you have to is to accept it, to have fun about it.
Yeah.
And to deal with it, learn how to deal with it, because as you say, it's a muscle at the end.
Absolutely.
At the end is part of the team job. And I believe that, for example, something that I really appreciated working with somebody like, for example, Gandhi Tartakovsky. He really understands the dynamic of working in animation and getting those kind of notes.
Yeah.
And when everybody, even the director is included, is aware of a team dynamic where it brings everybody together and gives notes in a way that is like, let's see how we can make this work together. It's not, you do like this. So I really hope that we can create that, even with the dynamic, as you say, about notes and doing changes and all that. So everybody receives in the best way as possible those changes and accept it in a way that is, okay, this is for the benefit of all of us.
Right? And you know, before I forget, to add on to like the stuff about the lecture, I remember when I was first starting to attend some animation schools, and they were just focusing on animation, which is great. You know, it's a specialized school, and you know, it's a very, very specialized occupation. But I feel like there's a lot of benefit from having learned a little bit of all of the other disciplines of our process, right? Whether that's storyboarding, or whether that's rigging, or just basic story and character, and giving the students a little bit of those each in the context of being useful for them to create you know, more cohesiveness and a better rhythm in a shot and a sequence, is something that I'm hoping to provide in the lectures. You know, so we'll be going over story arc, character arcs. We'll be going rhythm and pacing and cinematography and all that stuff. But all with the intention of creating stronger shots.
Yeah. That's why also I call depth. You know, you add depth to whatever, because sometimes you may be doing a shot where not necessarily you are telling lots of things visually speaking, but there is something that is adding like depth and understanding to the character, that it feels more alive, or it feels more kind of like unique, the character that you're building with, adding those kind of details that you're talking about.
Yeah, exactly. And not just the depth in character sense, but the depth of seeing the entire picture outside of your shot, right? Because if there's a certain cadence or there's a certain rhythm to the way the sequence is playing, And if you're peaking too high, or if you're hitting a low like too early,
Yeah,
it's going to mess the sequence up. And
totally.
so, like I was saying, collectively, the sequence, therefore, like each shot in the sequence won't be as strong as it should be.
Totally, man. Nice, man. I really like what I'm hearing, and every time that we had a conversation about the project, I feel very excited. So I want to thank you for that, for building this workshop for us.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity.
Definitely, man. So yeah, um, I guess that's a good introduction. So thank you
Cool.
very much to everybody,
Sounds good.
and we'll see you all soon. Thanks.